Welcome to the MBD podcast, the show where we dig into what's actually working or not when it comes to scaling businesses with the people who've been there. And today's guest has been there not once, not twice, but a handful of times at least. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Jason. It's great to be here. Love the podcast. Frequent listener, and I hope people will, learn from our perspective too, and get a little bit of insight as well. So I'm Leo Kahn. I've been in the game for about almost 17, 18 years, I think. Time flies, and
Yeah.
I'm from the Valley, Cupertino originally. And, it's been a hot minute, man, since I've been kind of doing the tech thing. So started
Yeah.
in, for lack of a better term, started in Web 1, then Web 2, and Web 3, and kind of done it all types of shapes and sizes. I've been in 8 unicorns, raised over 350 million in my career, done pretty much, been a CMO 3 times, done a lot of stuff, man. you
That's
know,
awesome.
yeah, so we'll get into the weeds a little bit more and talk about some of the pitfalls, some of the good things, the good, the bad, the ugly, and pretty much all of it. So we'll keep it
Yes.
unfiltered.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, awesome. So you've got these businesses you're going into, whether it be at the C-suite level or even a little bit earlier. What do you see businesses where everyone that you've gone into that they have opportunity to help fix something because one, they're doing it wrong, two, they don't know what they're doing, or three, that they just didn't have someone in that position to fix it before.
All of the above, honestly. So somebody at my level, when you get, let's say somebody's trying to hire a CMO, right?
Mm,
So probably the thing is, I mean, I've been in most cases. Sometimes these companies they never had a CMO, right? And they thought they're doing things fantastic. If anything broke, don't fix it. And then they realize, well,
what's a
yeah,
drip
that's
campaign? Right?
yeah, exactly. Just sending out basic emails and stuff, and it turns out to be a little bit more. Like for example, one of the research companies. That I came into, they were doing this same thing, block and tackle, right? Just going to trade shows, getting as many leads as they can, and they're like, "Yeah, this is good enough. We're building pipeline." As much as I hate this word, I mean, in 2025, digital transformation, this is such a I would say 20-year ago thing, right? So you should have
Yeah.
gone digital 20 years ago, but still companies suffer from this because they believe the block and tackle stuff works, and that's what it's going to be. And I said, guys, you need to change the way you're looking into things. Like for example, ABM, which is account-based marketing,
Hmm.
very basic stuff. Like this is not something revolutionary, and companies been doing it for decades, but they're not adopting it, right? And this is a good, fairly close to $100 million business, and they work with enterprises, and the deal sizes are average 9 to 6 months long. So you have got to have some sort of an ABM. So they had none of that stuff, right? Big contracts with Salesforce. I mean, I negotiated a $2 million Salesforce contract for these guys when we did our renewal. So that tells you how much you're paying on software, but you're not paying attention to the rest of the stuff, right? So building pipeline and stuff like that. But it's just not about just getting a software is going to help you. You need expertise as well. You need people. Yes, sure, there's AI. People say, well, I don't need to hire people. I can just replace all of this and automate it through agents. Great. You can coach the agents, but at the same time, you also need human intelligence too. So it's really about finding the right mix. How can you actually do it? Because you're telling basically these AI tools what to do. So you need orchestrators as well. We haven't hit AGI yet, or super intelligence yet, so we're not there yet. So we still need to do a little bit of a hand holding there. So lots of things that comes to mind.
And you go to these companies, what are things, because I know that the people who are hiring guys like you, how do you get them bought into that direction of changing how they're doing things so that way they can get the most out of what they have?
Sometimes they understand it, sometimes they really don't understand. So it really depends on which persona you're talking to, right? So if you're talking to a very super technical persona, let's just say, and I have nothing against these guys. These guys are amazing market makers. They're the technology builders and stuff like that. The CTOs of the world and the CIOs of the world, very fairly technical folks. They're developers. They're in the code. I mean, I'm fairly technical, so I can speak that language. But then again, I mean, I'm not the guy I'm not a CTO. My business is is completely different. My line of business is completely different. So you kind of have to, it's sometimes it's an uphill battle because they just don't see the value. They're like, well, it's just probably going to grow organically. So product led growth is great. You build these products for PLG, that's great, but it can only take you to a certain point. Now, when you're trying to build $100+ million business, you want to go IPO, PLG ain't going to cut it, right? So you have to figure out what other strategies can I deploy. That's where people like me come in. So PLG probably took you from $0 to $2 million run rate revenue. And then what happens when you want to go from 2 million to 20 million? That's a huge jump, right? That's where you
Yeah.
actually talk to people like me, and you want to have some resources as well. So one guy's not going to, like, we're not the tech messiah, if you will. Like, we're not going to wave a wand and just fix all of your problems. We definitely need a A-class team, people that are definitely smarter than me. So I like to hire A people in my team who are smarter
Hmm.
than me, and they know what they're doing and keeping me honest. So I like to hire those kind of people under my team. And then at the same time, you ought to have some sort of a budget too, right? So my philosophy is dollar in, dollar out. That's how much you want to spend and actually get some traction as well. But sometimes that's not the case. So
Hmm.
you get into the CACs, you get into all these things, and it depends on what business you're in. If you're in a marketplace business, your CAC is going to be way much more higher. If you're more of a
Hmm.
B2B business, your CAC is you can lower the CAC if you want. So I think it's all shapes and sizes and different things, but it's definitely a convincing game. So, but some people get it. They're like, dude, we need marketing. That's it, plain and simple. That's all we do. So yeah, it's can be tricky at times.
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying because it's like you've got um, hiring the A team is going to be key. So, what do you do to hire and identify those people?
A network effect. So obviously, when you are almost close to a 20-year vet, you know those people already, right? So they're within your either your cohort or they're within your network, and then you just kind of like reach out to good people, and good people definitely they want to follow you too if you have great leadership abilities. So I'm blessed and lucky with that. And then again, I mean, it's just look, hiring talent is tough. Like it's a rigorous cycle, right? You got to go through it. You got to do a lot of jump through a lot of hoops and stuff like that. Most recently, I think you've been hearing about the news, like what's going on. Meta's been poaching people, like from the top AI
Yeah,
companies,
I
and
know.
some of these paydays are like $100 million paydays. Like that's just crazy. You got to
It's
have
insane.
money in the bank to recruit top tier talent, and I mean, I'm not lucky enough to have 100 million that I can give 100 million to somebody.
Not many of us
Uh,
are.
None of you, yeah. So that's like a Zuck level thing, right? Yeah, what do you do? So it's just so either the technology is compelling, there's great upside for growth and all those things and stuff like that. So I think that's a great thing. I mean, one of the stories is like I'm always looking to mentor people, and I always want that prodigal son, right? Where somebody's going to just replace me, and that actually happened in one of the companies. So one person that I actually hired worked for me, came in at a director level position and took my position, like became rose up to become a CMO. So that I think that's a great success story.
That's
Um,
huge.
so,
What's
so yeah,
also
I
great
mean,
is that you're willing to train people to try and be better than you, right? Like that's the goal. Like a good leader does that. And a lot of people don't recognize that because some will come in and they'll hire talent who might not be as good because it makes them look better as if they're the expert. But that's not the end. That shouldn't be the end game. Like the end game is to replace yourself.
that's the end game, honestly. Like I was blessed enough to have leaders who were able to give me that limelight and the platform to shine, and then it was there for the taking, but the responsibility is yours as well. So you got to perform, right? And once that is, yeah, you want to be that rock star, and then you want to pass on the baton. So that's I love doing that. So I think there's no greater satisfaction in mentoring and coaching, and then passing the torch. So I love it.
Awesome. So we've got your team in place. What are areas of opportunity that you're trying to identify, or some of the ones that you consistently find amongst these different businesses that are easy to get into and start getting some quick success?
It's not one size fits all, unfortunately. Every company is different, and it's a bespoke approach, right? So you don't want to do a postmortem before you're doing a premortem. So you really want to come in and listen. I think listening is the best ability that you could have. Just listen, and try to understand and get a feel of what might work, what might not work, and what is the tribal knowledge here. So try to soak that tribal knowledge. I think that's what I would say, definitely for sure. And once you've had that listening, and I'm not saying that take like 6 months just to listen.
Yeah.
Like
I
you
was
got
going
to
to
you
ask
got
how
to
long you take. I'm
no, I
about a
mean,
month. I'm about a month of
Oh,
listening, going through.
a
I see
month
them on
gets
average
edgier, like a couple of weeks. You got to
couple
just
weeks.
dive in. Yeah, day in, day out. So it's like you're obsessed with this thing, right? And then you want to lose sleep on it. So you do all those things, and then you take your couple of weeks. You learn. You try to dissect. You because you're bringing in fresh perspective. You do that. You ask as many questions. Be a fly on the wall. Get on customer meetings. Sit with the salespeople. Listen to their calls. What are they doing? What's the behavior? What's the persona really look like? How are they selling? What's the personification of these different profiles? And what are they telling you? What are the signals? So I think you do all of that. Don't come in with a preconceived notion and just be arrogant and be like, well, I've done this multiple times, so it worked in that company. Why wouldn't it work in this company? It would not. So because, like I said, it's bespoke, so it has to be customized and tailored towards that what that audience is. So I think it's those things. So if you can figure that part out and strike a fine balance between that, I think you should be good, and you should be, and don't be afraid to fail. Like fail fast. Like go right, and just make as many mistakes as you can. My personal motto is that failure only leads to success. I should coin this, by the way. I don't know. I kind of like it, but that's just what it is, honestly. And then most people are just scared to fail. They're just like, I don't want to try new things. I'm just used to doing certain things a certain way, and that's just how I'm going to roll with the punches. That's not going to work in 2025. Honestly, it's a very, very tough market. It's super, super competitive, and the customer is unforgiving. They're not going to forgive you if you're making mistakes. They're just going to move on to a different vendor. So I can assure you, any space that you're in, there's multiple options, right? So even if you use one of the GPTs today that are out there, you like a certain brand and you're paying them, let's say, $20 a month. You're a paid subscriber, but if there are hiccups, you might move to a different one. There's multiple options there, and they're probably cheaper. And everyone's gunning for the same things. So so you better be good at it. So you got to be customer obsessed.
Yeah, no, it's great feedback, and it's funny because one of the things I tell my daughter's teams that I coach is like, what does loss mean? And they get it. They go, loss means learning. I'm like, see, we're just out here learning. It's like it applies in so many different scenarios. Like it's things that as kids are not necessarily taught, especially more the academics kids who are only looking to get the highest grade possible. They're not used to being able to fail, but also having leadership that says, hey, I want you to fail. I want you to grow. I want you to learn, because if you're not taking any of these risks, we're just going to be at the same place the whole time, like you're saying. No, so that's great feedback. So you got your team, got ability to fail. You have bandwidth, so that way you can go out, make some new decisions, try and grow things in a particular direction. Is there anything that you look at within? Now you've listened and you see areas of opportunity. So are you structuring a plan, or you attack to bring up maybe to the CEO or whoever's running or you're reporting to, or are you attacking it directly and potentially asking for money, or you already know the budget you have? Essentially, what I'm asking is, how do you structure your plan of attack once you identify your areas of opportunity?
Yeah, I think the good way to do it is, good leadership is, before you take any job, you want to ask these questions prior to taking the
Yeah.
job, and then probably finding out later that, oh dang, there's no budget, and you're in some trouble. So what I like to do is actually have these questions up front, like, hey, what the budget
Uh,
is, what did you spend, historical information. Tell me, what did you spend in the last 2 years? Okay, I spent this and this and this and this. Okay, cool. What are the red flags? One of the businesses I talked to, I think, a couple of years ago, they're like, oh, I spent like $1 million in 6 months. I'm like, great, okay, and where did the money go? And then they're like, well, we don't know, we just like spent it.
oh
So
man.
I mean, these are bad telltale signs, right? Well, how,
Yeah.
how did you burn $1 million in 6 months and have no idea where the money was? And there's no accountability. So I think those are some of the things you really figure out. You make a marketing budget, like from day one, knowing from the historical information. Like, give me all the historical information. I'll synthesize it. I'll make it into a budget. Figure out like what's going on. Hiring needs. You gotta bake that in. What your ad spend look like. What your SEO looks like. What your other all basically all the dials. You gotta figure that out before you go into this. And then when you're in the seat, that's when you're like just tweaking, right? You're like, okay, I can take this money here,
Yeah.
I can put it over here in this bucket, and so forth. So it's just a nice balancing act. So you're like orchestrating it. So that's how I like to do it. Tend to work, fairly well. And if you're a seasoned executive, at this point, you already know like what works and what doesn't really work. So you're kind of like using your gut feeling as well, but don't just shoot it from the hip. Be a little bit much more strategic, methodological. You got to have a method to it, right? So I think those things work kind of like well. It's done wonders for me. So that's how I like to do. Be prepared. That's it. That's all I'm asking. But yes, you have to have the leadership on board. Like in my job, I report to the board at some point, right? So the entire C-suite, we all report to the board. After the quarter is in, you go in a board meeting and you report your numbers and you're like, hey, this is what we did, and that's where you're asking the numbers. You're asking for either more money or you still stay afloat and stuff like that, and then you get a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's plain and simple. And then yes, obviously, that's why we have these weekly meetings, quarterly meetings. We have our half one review, half two review, and then it's all by quarter approach. So that all helps. These all things, all these plannings, they help. Versus you're like, yeah, we'll just wing it and we'll figure out. That's the case with this company that I was talking to, and they're like, we burned 1 million in 6 months. We have no idea what we did.
Yeah, and how do you or what? How do you plan out your marketing calendar? Like, how far out do you go, and then how do you develop waypoints to keep people on track?
Yeah, so it's quarter by quarter, but the planning is done, half one and half two, which is 6 months. That's kind of like how I plan it. So, but I really don't know what's going to happen 6 months from today.
No,
Like I can kind of predict it and kind of have an idea. Okay, this is what we want to do. We want to
directional.
hit. Yeah, directional. We want to hit our pipeline numbers because we have these goals. We know what revenue targets we want to hit, and for revenue those targets, this is what pipe we need to do in XYZ. So you're kind of like estimating at this point, but then again, I mean, you can have a very shit quarter, and all those numbers are out the window. Then you're basically back to the drawing board, and you're like, okay, how do I salvage the situation from here, and what we need to do differently to either make that number or what is it going to take? So I think the 6 month approach is pretty good. Like I have a good handle on that, but beyond 6 months, it's kind of hard to just kind of like predict and say what's going to happen. So.
Got it. And then with where you're currently at, how are you guys scaling the business, and maybe what some of the successes you've seen and some of the struggles you've had in trying to get to your next level?
Just too much competition, honestly.
Yeah.
So like in the enterprise business, it's just it's hard, right? So everyone is gunning for that business, and I work in every single industry, right? So some of the companies that I worked for in the past, like for example PayPal, they're a great company. They have about like more than 500 million users, but now then the struggle becomes like where did you find the next 500 million, right? And where do you go from there? Where's the next billion users going to come from? And then you do offer like innovative products, like we launched PayPal Crypto, we launched PayPal Risk, like when I was there. So great product, and things are up and up. But then again, there's more competition. You got Cash App, and you got like all these other new players that are coming in, and they're taking eating away your lunch money.
Yeah.
So. It's always the case. Crypto, the same thing. Like I've been in crypto for 8 9 years. There's always a new player, and so it really depends what sets you apart. So I think what I love the fact is, maybe this is a bad word, but honestly, like look at it. You like competition is for losers, right? You don't want to create competition, and you don't want to worry about the competition. What you want to do is create a monopoly. I think that's what it is. Again, like I said, it's a bad word, right? But look at Google, monopoly, right? And all these great companies out there. They've created a phenomenal monopoly. Microsoft, right? As bad this word might sound like, right? It's not like free market and all that, but business is good, right? So how do you build on that? I think that's a good thing. And then again, I keep saying it, you got to be customer obsessed. So if you focus on the customer, forget about all the noise and all the competition, and you just serve your customer right, I think you will make it. You will make it. So you'll do right by your company.
Yeah, a lot of people don't listen to their customer, and they're coming up with different products that their customers aren't necessarily in need of. And I saw that. So when I worked at MySpace, one of the things that turned direction on them is they had a product for every possibility that you could think of. They had MySpace books, MySpace music, MySpace schools. They had all these different arms, and they got so there were so many that they weren't able to service them all correctly, and it fractured their platform. So people started going, I'm going to go over here for this. I'm going to go over there for that because it provided better service. They didn't stick to what their core customer base was during that time. And Facebook came out, and kind of tapped into their market share. But music was their main thing, and they lost focus of that, and it hurt the company in the end. Well, no, great. Well, if someone's listening right now trying to scale, what's one piece of advice you wish you had earlier?
Ooh, that's a very tough one, man. I guess learning from better leaders, honestly. If somebody was mentoring me and telling me, "Look, man, I've been on down this road, and there's nothing there for you." If I think if I was more fortunate enough to have more leaders preaching, teaching, coaching, I think that would have been probably the best advice. Like I would not have as much as a little bit of white hair, I guess. But I think that would be the best case scenario. That's where you want to learn like how do you want to scale. And I'm a fan of Peter Thiel's. I think his book is like 0 to 1 is really really good. I highly recommend it if you haven't read that book yet. So it really talks about scaling that 0 to 1. I mean, it's a phenomenal book. And then just a lot of reading. Like honestly, like there's knowledge out there. It's just how
Yeah,
hungry you are. Take no for an answer. Honestly, I'm saying very basic stuff. I don't know why, but we say all these things and it's embedded in us. But sometimes people just don't act on it, right? So it's just.
action.
So it's just you gotta be on the more on the execution side, honestly, than just doing like thought leadership and just reading and be like, yeah, I possess all this knowledge, but then you're
Got to
like,
do
oh,
something.
what do I do? Yeah, you got to go execute. And but sometimes it's not people's faults as well. Sometimes we end up in these jobs that don't let us execute the way we want to do it. So
Hmm.
that is also part of the culture of the company as well, right? So it's just kind of like it's like, no, do what you're told. And then what do? Do you quit? Do you leave? Do you like you get frustrated and you're like, well, it's a decent paycheck, I'm just gonna stay here till the wheels falls off.
I can tell you
So
what
there's
most people do. Most people stay there till the wheels fall off. I've seen them, and they're in there. They're complaining all the time, and it's like, and
yeah
I've had these guys. I'm like, why are you here still?
yeah
Like, there's a million other jobs. Go find another job. Like,
yeah
stop complaining. You're bringing everyone down around you.
yeah. So yeah, so something's got to change, right? So, but yeah, I mean, scaling is all about experimentation. The more experiments you do, the more you're scale. I think most recently, this company came to. I was reading somewhere, like Booking.com. Not probably used predominantly too much in America, but like we've got like Pricelines and all this stuff. But they run more experiments than any company, like literally on planet Earth. So like thousands of experiments, like 10,000 plus experiments, like on a any given basis, on a weekly basis, which is crazy. And I was like, wow, man, like what's going on here? So they're fully deploying this, and they're basically a smaller company out of the Netherlands is basically kicking everyone's ass, and they're doing a very very good job. So I was impressed by that. So here's this company who's doing pretty good. uh, Maybe we can learn from that, and maybe we can bring those learnings into our own companies and be much more experimental. That's where scale comes from. So scale is going to come from like experimentation. It's not going to come from what you read in a case study, I guess.
No, makes sense. Um, where can people connect with you or learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, LinkedIn is the best way to connect with me. Telegram is the best way to connect with me. I'll drop it in, and you can take a look at my credentials. But it's my last full word, Leo, Leokahn. That's for LinkedIn, and that's the same thing for Telegram as well. If you reach out, I'll happy to add you and have a chat with you and go from there. So I'll leave the links for you, and maybe you can put the links in the
Yeah, for
podcast.
sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time.
Appreciate it, man. Jason, this was great. I know it was rapid fire, and
Yeah,
hopefully
all good.
this was entertaining, and I don't bore your audiences and stuff like that. And we
No,
probably
there's a
do it
lot of
around too.
nuggets.
So we do it. I loved it. Thank you.
Awesome. All right.